Welcome. My name is Robin Holliday, and I am the owner-curator of HorseSpirit Arts Gallery, and I'd like to welcome you to the third episode of the live Facebook show, The Artistic Spirit. Tonight, I have with me a very talented artist, Deanne Lenehan. So welcome, Dee.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello.
We'll bring on Dee in just a second. First, I'd like to introduce you to the producer of The Artistic Spirit, Rob Hicks. Rob, can you join me? Hey, so Rob, can you explain to our viewing audience how they interact with this show? Thank you. So y'all be sure and say hello. Well, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Deanne Lenehan. Dee is one of the 46 artists who are at HorseSpirit Arts Gallery. It's a very eclectic and uplifting gallery. And Dee, welcome to the show.
Hi, Robin. Hi,
Hey,
Robin. How are you?
Good. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
My first question for you, Dee, is to tell us about your art.
Well, so my personal art has a lot to do with my family background and being from the Midwest in Michigan. And my professional art, I'm a decorative artist. So I kind of have two sides to me in my art. So I can talk a little bit more about my personal art if you wish.
That sounds great.
Okay. So my personal art is has to do with my family, and I am drawn to old things, whether it be cars, edifices, environments that have kind of been discarded or left behind, and yet they still remain. So in the work that you'll see, there are some old trucks, old barns, buildings, chairs, rooms, so to speak, so that have just seen better days, kind of just been left with, people have moved on, and these things have just been left to just sit and rot away. So they tell a story.
So you find the absolute beauty in things like that.
Yeah, I love painting textures and patinas, and to me, the decay tells a story, and I find that really beautiful. Instead of something that's shiny and brand new, these things have been through a lot of work, a lot of wear and tear, and you wonder what these things have seen if they could speak, what they've witnessed and their story.
And you and I both have been through a little bit of wear and tear.
That's correct. So the show that I'm having hosted at Pure Wine Cafe is called Still Standing. And that's the name of one of the paintings that I have. But Still Standing, I came up with prior to the flood, ironically, went through a lot of personal changes. And after the flood hit, I felt that the title was apropos to describe the body of work that I was creating. So.
Well, I am thrilled that you are still standing. I am thrilled that you're part of the gallery.
Likewise.
And now let's take a field trip into your studio and have you tell everybody what they're looking at.
Okay. So my studio is located at the west end of Main Street, Frederick Road in Ellicott City. And what you see right in front of you is my front room or my showroom where I greet clients by appointment. We can discuss different projects, whether it be a faux finish, whether it's a cabinet finish or a mural. These are some samples that I have of decorative finishes for walls or ceilings. And they're done with glass beads, with silver leaf, with plasters and different textures. On the floor is a floor cloth that I painted. These are some different examples of paintings that I've done in classes. The one on the left is from France. So some paintings there that are little watercolors. And this larger mural with the two children is a mural that was done in 2009 for the Ellicott City Designer Show House. And it was done for an artist's loft or studio. And then over to the side here are some more wall finishes that I have. And so then this is what is my space that I work in, large work surface, 4 tables that can come apart. And then in the background is a large mural wall that my dad and I built so that I can work on large scale canvases that I install in clients' homes. And then over here, I have some more samples hanging on shelves that contain paints and other things. And then above that is storage space for large canvases and other material. And these large tables can pull apart. They're each 4 by 8, so I can lay out large canvases. For the wall itself, I can work on canvases that are 30 feet long by 12 feet tall. And you can see by the marks on the wall that I use it for different purposes. And this is where I also create my personal work that you'll see at the show. And then over to the right there is where I keep some of my tools and brushes and my slop sink. And then on the other side, there's color charts and books and my desk and another shot of my shelves for all my paints and stuff and the storage. And then you'll see, I believe, my spray area. I also paint cabinetry and furniture, and I have a fan and a couple different spray rigs that I use depending on what is needed. So that's my studio. It's a big space and it has a lot of different, uses.
Dee, I'll tell you, for many of the artists who are out here looking, I think they will have studio envy, because that is really a cool studio.
I'm very lucky, and if people need the space, they're more than welcome to share it with me on different projects. And I want to say hi to Candy in Tokyo. Wow, also Michelle Miller, and hi April. Great show last week.
That is wonderful. Well, Dee, our next step is to take a look at some of the paintings that you've produced. So Rob's going to bring them up on screen, and if you could talk to us about them.
Absolutely. So this is called Retired, and this is of an international tow truck that's behind my studio up at the West End. And it's owned by the Klein family, who are my landlords and own the West End service. And it was a truck that was owned by their father. There are 7 kids that now own West End service. And this was one of the trucks that he used in his fleet. And it's now sitting in the back lot, retired. So I was walking around one day and noticed this. And I love old cars and machinery. I mean, my family being from Michigan, you kind of have, I have oil running through my veins. And so this was the color and the texture and the crazing and the paint felt was really cool. And so this one is a painting of an old case tractor. It's called Rust and Dust. And by the way, these will all be for sale. So if you see something you like, you better show up to the opening on the 13th on Monday. So Rust and Dust is a case tractor, I believe it's 1920s era. My father is pretty well versed in old machinery, and he said this was a sideways engine motor case. And what you see here is one of the wheels and where the belt would attach. And again, I was drawn to just the pitting and the rust, and it reminds me of hanging out with my grandparents on their farm in Upper Michigan, and the smell of gasoline and hot metal in the sun, and just being a kid and hanging out with them and running around in the fields. So it has a bit of a nostalgia for me. But these images were found locally, but they invoke those memories for me and hopefully for other people.
They're just beautiful. And I think my personal favorite is the truck.
Yeah, me too. So what you're seeing here is, this was a painting done in 2009. It was a mural done for the Ellicott City Show House. And these are some friends of mine who are actually since grown, probably in high school by now. They're not my own children, but they so graciously posed to have their picture painted. And it was a trompe l'oeil painting. So when you walked into the room that I designed, these were on the other wall opposite you. And so was meant to look like you're walking in on a studio session, like an artist had just stepped out and these children were very well behaved and their dog was sitting, you know, at attention, being painted by the artist. And so you can see the drapery and, you know, the different folds of fabric. I love, you know, trying to paint as realistically as possible. I think that's a challenge. And also it's fun when you pull the trick off. A lot of people came into the room and were like, it startled at first. And then they're like, is that a painting? And they would walk up and touch it. And I was like, please touch the artwork. It's okay. So,
I mean, your level of detail is really just amazing.
thank you. So this painting here is called Still Standing. And this is a barn on M46 up in Michigan on the way to my grandparents' farm. And it was one of the ones that was floating in the flood that I resurrected. I pulled out of the water 10 o'clock that evening. And then this painting is called Moved On. And it's actually part of the Taylor building in Ellicott City before its renovation. This one is called Crossroads, and it's painted in, it was from Bad Axe, Michigan, where my grandparents retired, and then back to rust and dust again. So there's kind of a theme running through my artwork where just forlorn, forgotten places, utilitarian, but again, finding beauty in things that are discarded and overlooked.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Dee, do you want to talk to us a little bit about your technique?
Sure. So the technique that I use is pretty traditional. I do an underpainting in like an umber brown, and that's to establish values, highlights, and shadows. And then I go on to paint the color tones in the painting or the artwork, and then I build up the layers. And so by doing that, I establish an intimate relationship with the texture, the color. And a lot of times when I start a painting, I'm excited about it. And then I realize, oh my goodness, there's so much detail I'm never going to finish because my artwork is big too.
Right.
I think that just comes from being a muralist. I like to work large. I find that it's more impactful. So I do about 3 or 4 different layers of color, and each layer I kind of fine tune and tighten up that detail. And then the last layer is just getting in those, you know, subtle highlights and shadows that I can just create that little pop that when somebody sees the artwork, they're like, wow, that looks like a photograph. And hopefully it looks better than a photograph. It looks like something like a memory, or there's a bit of life that comes out of it. So
absolutely. Absolutely. So Dee, you are ready to have an art show, and I'm going to ask you to tell everybody about that. But one reason we could not hold it in the gallery is because your paintings are so huge. They're like 3 feet by 4 feet. So tell us about your upcoming art show.
So my art show is being hosted at Pure Wine Cafe, graciously by PJ and Jasmine Strain, and presented by HorseSpirit Arts Gallery. And it's at Pure Wine Cafe because A, my pieces are big, but B, I wanted them to be viewed in a cohesive unit because they tell a story. And the show opens on Monday, March 13th at 6 p.m. The opening is from 6 to 9, and it's open for 3 months. I believe the closing day is on May 29th, I believe. But the idea of having them in a space that is self-contained is because it tells a story about the process that I went through. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and that was the impetus of me creating this show. I want to say hi to Candy. Oh, thank you. She says the paintings are alive. Wow, that's a compliment. It's nearly photogenic. Michelle, very nice, and Beverly, mind-blowing. You guys are very flattering. Thank you so much. But yeah, my mother passed away from cancer in 2014, and before she passed away, I had a conversation with her about doing my own artwork because I had never done so before. Being a decorative artist, I have always painted for other people, and seeing her at 63, you know, not living very much longer, I realized that, you know, there was a necessity to express what I needed to express. And, you know, we just talked about, you know, how to go forth. And she said, just start painting and everything will come. And don't worry about, you know, there being a thesis or a cohesive idea, just start painting. And that's what I did. And so what you see here is me cutting out labels for my show. I'm kind of a perfectionist slash control freak.
No. No.
I was like, I think I'll do the labels and all that. So, and so here, the piece that you see is a drawing. So I also have 8 drawings as well as 8 paintings. The drawings are more intimate. They're more still life based. This one is called Double Fiddle, and it's kind of a play on words. A friend of mine called that a double fiddle. I forgot exactly what the name of it was, but it's a pulley that I found at a secondhand store called Second Chance down in Baltimore. And I just love the texture, and there's rust, and it's heavy, and it's old, and obviously tells a story. And so double fiddle is kind of I play double bass, and so kind of double fiddle is, I thought it was a cute name. So, but there's a lot of other paintings, like some tubes, some radio tubes. My dad's big into radios, and my great grandfather was too. So you'll see a bunch of different drawings that have to do with radios and other domestic equipment that may not necessarily be pretty, but I'm sure people will be able to identify with.
Dee, they're just wonderful. They are just wonderful.
All
right, guys, let's go to PJ and let him tell you about Pure Wine, where Dee's show is going to be held. Rob, can you bring that video up?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just want to tell you about the upcoming art show here at Pure Wine Cafe, starting on the 13th from 7 to 9. We're super excited to be teaming up with HorseSpirit Gallery down the street, hosting the work of Deanne Marie Lenehan. We've got a fantastic show called Still Standing. It's going to be starting, as I said, on the 13th, going all the way through May. So if you can join us on the 13th, that would be fantastic. We've got a little wine tasting going on as well. We'll have some appetizers, have a really good show. You can meet the artist, check out the amazing work. It will be up through May, though, so if you can't make it on Monday, feel free to stop by anytime. You're going to love it. It's fantastic local Ellicott City artwork. Come on out and support local art.
Well, thank you. And we are excited about having it at Pure Wine. In case you haven't been there, Pure Wine Cafe is an excellent restaurant, and the wine is outstanding. So on Monday the 9th, that's when it's going to be. And I hope that you'll really be. Oh my goodness, Monday the 13th. Monday. Oh, and you know what? I looked on the calendar for snow. And so please watch the calendar. Oh my gosh.
The word.
I know. But we're hoping for Monday the 13th. I'd also like to give a shout out to Chuck Gross at Mad About You, who has done a wonderful job framing Dee's work. Dee, you want to say anything about that?
Chuck is wonderful. He worked with me on picking out the right matting for my drawings, and I'm framing the paintings, and him and Bernard are just wonderful. So if you ever have any framing that needs to be done, please visit him. He's off of Lot D, the red house in the back. Great artwork there as well. So thank you so much, Chuck. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Dee, one other thing I'd like you to talk to the group about are the classes that you give at your studio. Now, your art is for sale at the gallery, but I also know you do these classes. So can you talk for a minute about that?
Sure. So I host classes every now and then, and I teach classes. And some of the classes that I teach are furniture painting, where I had one back in, I believe, January. And I'm going to schedule one again soon after my show is up, where you can bring a piece of furniture and I can talk to you about, the best method. I don't teach a product, I teach the best approach. So I give you a breadth of knowledge, and you can take away what you need to tackle your project. I also teach a Trumpeting mural class, and that's not that hard. It sounds a lot more difficult than it is. And I've also hosted different classes for other artists. I've hosted a very glamise, or I think it's the way you're saying it. But it's basically painting on glass, or reverse glass painting, where you gild, use gold leaf. I've done some different finishing classes hosted by different teachers. And if you need a space where you need to do a big project, you hit me up. I have a big space for it. So by all means, come out. And thank you, Candy and Carlos Zepeda. I hope I'm saying that correct.
You are. Zepeda.
Art is life. What beautiful women you two are. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Thank you.
That's so sweet. Well, Steve, now we've talked about your art and we've talked about your inspiration and your show. What else would you like the viewer to know?
Just that I'm ecstatic. I'm thrilled that I am having my first show and that it's in Main Street in Ellicott City, because you know, I think, you know, Main Street is just a unique place, and I'm so grateful to PJ, and I'm very grateful to you because, you know, I met you long before you had your gallery on Main Street. And I think your gallery is beautiful, and the way you handle it is, and the way you treat the artists is just wonderful. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. She says, this is wonderful. I love your work. So I just hope that, you know, if you can't make it Monday on the 13th, that you take time out to come down to HorseSpirit and check out all of the wonderful artists that she has there. Robin has a wonderful, you know, curator's eye. There's something for everybody there. And come up to Pure Wine and grab a bite. And if you are adventurous, you want to come out to my studio, give me a ring and come on up. You can see the space for yourself.
That's wonderful, Dee. Thank you so much. And I'm honored to represent you. You know, I asked you about 2 years ago to join, and I'm so glad that you finally said yes.
Yeah, I was, you know, I never had been with a gallery before, being a decorative artist. So I, you know, I think after the flood, it was like, you know what, I think I need to, you know, be part of this. And I'm really excited and thrilled to have my work, you know, amongst such a breadth of talented artists. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Dee, one more thing before we go. I know your studio was damaged in the flood and that contributed to your name still standing. I think we have some photos of that. Rob, can you help pull them up?
Yeah, so my studio, even though it's up at the west end, I still got 2 feet of water on July 30th in my space. And you can see from the photos how much water came down the west end. This was after the flood water started to recede from my studio. I found out through Facebook that the deluge that happened, I hightailed it. I was living in Catonsville, so I drove responsibly as fast as I could to my studio and said a prayer and opened my door, and this is what greeted me. And I had no idea what was going on further down Main Street. It just, you know, I think everybody was shocked and surprised at how much water came from the sky. And, you know, you see the pictures of my studio, and you know, what I lost was material, and I can replace most of what that was. And I just thank goodness that, you know, so many people were able to make it out alive. And unfortunately, 2 people did lose their lives. But, you know, Robin, I know you know, went through a lot that night too. So we're just happy to be back in our places and making art and moving forward. And we're both still standing.
We are still standing. Rob is telling me that many other people are giving you compliments, Dee. So that's just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Wiley says, before we go, I just hear. What does that mean? Oh, that's funny. That's very funny. Well, Dee, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to tell the viewer, in case you don't know, HorseSpirit Arts Gallery is located at the bottom of Main Street. And we had 5 feet of water in the gallery. I was holding the door. I wasn't thinking clearly, and I was here when it started. And the water got up to my chest. We're a couple feet off the ground, so that's about 7 feet of water down here. And we lost our whole first floor. But all the artists have joined back together, and they are in the gallery, and I feel very honored and blessed for that.
And the gallery is beautiful. I mean, the amount of work that everybody put into, you know, rebuilding your gallery and all the artwork that's there, it looks like nothing ever happened. You know, I think a lot of people, when I was there walking, it was like, was this even flooded?
Oh my gosh. Well, a big shout out to a couple of people. One is my landlord, Don Ruhr, who got my building fixed in like 5 weeks, which is just crazy given that it was completely destroyed. The second group I'd like to shout out to are the artists in the gallery. They are the ones that helped rent a truck and trudge through the mud and got all the art out of this gallery. Then they came to my house. Now I'm sick, by the way, at this point, because I had to go to the emergency room because of all the guck that was in the gallery. And while I sat on the couch recovering, they inventoried all the art in the gallery. They are an absolute blessing. So Dee, that includes you. I am just tremendously thankful to the 46 artists that are in the gallery. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to the Ellicott City community. I would not have reopened without you. Your GoFundMe account was a blessing. Complete strangers gave the gallery money. You came in and you painted new furniture and you spackled walls, and you are an absolute blessing. And you are why I rebuilt my gallery in a floodplain. So I feel honored to be here.
Ellicott City is a unique place.
It is. It is.
So we're kick ass.
What'd you say?
I said, I dare say we are kick ass.
Yes, absolutely. And we are all still standing.
Yep, that's right.
So in closing, I would just like to let you know, I love owning this gallery. I love curating it. I love working with all the artists. I love being in Ellicott City. There's 46 of us, a very eclectic blend. Fiber, fine art, pottery, jewelry, all sorts, wood turning, lots of different things. How I want you to feel when you come into the gallery. I want you to feel like you're getting a break from the outside world. I want it to be a sanctuary, a place that when you leave, you feel much better than you did before you came in. So let me tell you about next week. Next week, I have mosaic artist Beverly Hunter. Her work is so cool. It's amazing. And the other person we're going to highlight, the business in Ellicott City, is Pam Long Photography. Pam has given tirelessly of her services to our community during the flood and after. She has filmed every single business that has opened. And there's not a more generous person than Pam. So I hope you'll tune in next Thursday, 7:00 p.m. We all look forward to seeing you. Bye.